Okay, so in this video, I would like to introduce wash lights that we would typically use on the stage or for performers. It doesn't mean that they can't light a cyc or a wall, but they're not as good at that as cyc lights or strip lights. They tend to produce more of a pool, so the effect on a cyc or a wall might be a little splotchy, a little spotty, and if that's what you want, great. But anyway, so wash lights for the stage. Soft edge light, they're simple, have simple size controls. They're bright, and they're really good at producing saturated colors. If I just want a wash of deep blue or a wash of red or even a paler color, a bright amber for daytime or whatever kind of wash of color one might want, or a soft pool around a performer, a wash light is a good choice, right? And so we'll talk about one in particular here, and we'll introduce the PAR, right? PAR is named for its reflector, which is a parabolic aluminized reflector, and you can see it up inside of this housing. It's just this shiny piece of glass. They used to be aluminum, but now they're actually glass, and they have a chrome applique on them. Regardless, it's still a PAR, parabolic aluminized reflector. They're simple in design, they're inexpensive, they're rugged, and they're really bright. The fixture that's on the right side over here is known as a PAR 64, and I think I'll talk about it more here in a minute. This fixture is, even though it's still in use and you can still find it, it's being phased out. But we'll talk more about that here in a little bit, right? So we'll talk a little bit about the source for this parabolic aluminized reflector. It has a lamp which provides light energy. It has a simple parabola-shaped reflector which sends all of the beams in a parallel direction, right? They're all running together in a very specific way. It gathers the light and aims in one direction. And even without any lens, it projects a soft edge pool of light. But don't do that. The lens is a safety feature. It keeps you from touching the lamp, or if the lamp experiences any sort of failure, it keeps any pieces of hot glass or parts of the lamp inside of it. It also protects the gel. You always want to run a lens. But you can see this parabolic shaped reflector, and then this is our source for PAR. Now, to change the size of a PAR or the shape of a PAR, we actually have to change the lens that goes in the front of it, and they just pop in and out. They're really easy to change once you have a little practice with them, right? So they come in four different sizes, a wide flood and a medium flood, and they produce an oval of light, right? And then a medium makes for a smaller oval of light. The next two sizes are a narrow spot and a very narrow spot. And those are rounded beams of light. They don't have an oval to them at all, right? So rotating them doesn't do any good. Now, you can rotate the oval shape. This oval shape, there's a ring in the front that actually the lens is clipped into, right? And you can then spin this oval. So if I wanted this oval to be vertical on the podium, all I would have to do is spin the lens, or the bottle as it's sometimes called, to be vertical with the podium, right? A narrow spot just softens the natural beam of the reflector, and a very narrow spot is essentially the same look as if you didn't have the lens in. It's just the reflector throwing all the rays of light in the same direction, and makes for a nice tight small pool. So we'll talk about this PAR 64, this PAR can, right? It's called a PAR can because it literally is just an aluminum can. Sometimes they're steel. But it's just a can that's designed to hold this. This is an 8-inch diameter. 64 stands for 64/8 of an inch. And so this is 8 inches across, and this is an 8-inch opening here, right? And it's an all-in-one. It has the lamp. You can see the lamp inside of here. The reflector is built into the back, and the lens is attached to the front. This is a whole assembly that all comes all together as one. You can see the lamp in here. Here's the reflector, and there's that, and you can see the four different kinds. There's a very narrow spot, a medium, and a wide, and They come in 500 watts, but the most popular kind were 1,000 watts, and they a lot of light for the amount of wattage. They're very bright, and I still like working with them quite a lot. Par 64 or the Par Can was the backbone of early rock and roll. This is a photograph of just part of Van Halen. I want to say this is 1983 Van Halen tour. And then this is Queen. I don't know what tour, but you could just see racks and racks and racks and racks and racks and racks. And these are probably very narrow spot pars. And here's a truss that's full of par 64s. And there were just tractor trailers just full of dimmers and cable and truss with all of these par 64s all over them. They're not even all turned on right now. I can see a row through here that's off, and there's another row out here that's off. They're not even all turned on at this point. So anyway, that's the par 64 and the early days of rock and roll, and we'll be back in a minute.